The success of a variety is the value it adds to the sugarcane industry. In recent history, we've seen varieties such as Q240 and Q240 become some of the most recommended and adopted varieties in Australia. Productive sugarcane varieties that have the most geographic suitability will inherently give greater value to this industry. In today's CaneClips, we're going to take a closer look at a new variety Q240, as it is quarantine approved across all sugarcane growing regions and has been performing well in trials. We'll visit 2 regions where it's been released at variety adoption meetings to find out more about its performances in SRA trials and commercially. First, we head to Bundaberg and talk to Alison Jensen, Principal Technician at SRA Bundaberg, who is responsible for assessing the performance of new varieties coming through the Bundaberg breeding program. There she gives us a brief on how Q240 performed in regional trials and some of its desirable traits.
Behind us we have a propagation plot of Q240. This variety was released in the southern region to growers in 2009 after it was tested in 2 of our replicated variety trial series. It's actually the first clone that we've released from a cross made using a Brazilian parent. As you can see here, in the 2002 variety trial series, Q240 produced moderate tonnes of cane per hectare and moderate CCS against the standard varieties of Q188, Q170, Q155 and Q151. In tonnes of sugar per hectare, you can see that it's performing quite well against these standards, particularly in the first and second return crops, which are shown here in the orange and grey columns. This variety was also tested in the 2006 variety trial series, where it again produced high tonnes of cane and an average CCS of around 15.5, similar to that produced by Q155. Overall, the tonnes of sugar per hectare produced by Q240 in this series was greater than all 4 standard varieties, and it's done particularly well in the first and second return crops. Another important part of our variety selection process is screening experimental clones for resistance to diseases. Q240 is resistant to sugarcane smut, leaf scald, mosaic and red rot. It also has intermediate resistance for Fiji leaf gall and Pachymetra root rot. In regards to harvesting, Q240 can be harvested throughout the season, however best CCS is produced mid to late season. Q240 has been used as a standard variety in our trials since its release in 2009. Southern Mill data released this year has shown good performance by Q240 with some promising CCS results, and it's expected that this variety will become one of the major varieties in the southern region over the next few years.
In 2012, Q240 commercially represented between 3 to 4% of the total hectares grown in the Bundaberg to ICES sugarcane growing regions. At harvest, its tonnes of sugar per hectare consistently averaged above the mill average from 2011 to 2012. Mike Turner from Bundaberg Sugar Services Limited talks about its recent commercial progress in Bundaberg and where it's best suited.
2012 season, approximately 47,000 tonnes was harvested at 14.9 CCS. To date in the 2013 season, roughly 33,500 tonnes has been harvested at 14.06 CCS. This variety is best suited to your average to better class soils. We have seen some good crops of this variety on the lighter soils, but would not recommend, as there are other varieties that would be best suited to these soils. One thing we have noticed with this variety on the lighter soils, it does show silicon deficiency symptoms easily. I believe if this variety keeps performing the way it has, this will become a major variety throughout the Bundaberg district for a mid to late harvest.
So recapping from Alison and Mike, Q240 is performing well and likely to become a major variety in the southern growing regions. To see how it's going further north, I've travelled to Burdekin to establish how it's performed in more recent SRA trials under different growing conditions. Q240 was released this year at the Burdekin Variety Adoption Meeting to Burdekin Productivity Services, where they are building up quantities for commercial release in 2013. They have also included it in their local variety trials where growers have been invited to find out more about it. Whilst there, I was able to talk to Catherine Kettle, Principal Technician for SRA in the Burdekin region, about some more recent performance results of Q240 in the Burdekin Final Assessment trials that saw it released here. Catherine, Q240 was released this year to the Burdekin Productivity Services, and you've had it in trials in the last couple of years. Could you tell us a bit about why it was released?
So we went into trials, into our final assessment trials in 2008 and 2010, and over those two series against the standards, which is 183, KQ and 208, it performed better tonnes wise, but a little bit below with sugar. And something that we've noted in our trials are quite a few suckers, and I think that has been seen around the industry as well.
And what about the disease concerns?
So in the Burdekin, the two diseases that we concentrate on are smut and leaf scald, and Q240 is resistant to both of those.
As this variety is a recent release in the Burdekin and Central regions, we will be able to follow its commercial performance over the next few years. We will also compare this data with other regions as it becomes more widely adopted to get a better understanding of its abilities and the value that it adds to the industry. You can find more information on varieties such as performance in SRA trials of recent release varieties and disease resistance by logging onto our SRA website at www.sugarresearch.com.au and downloading the variety guide for your region, or by logging on to Q Cane Select to use our online variety selection tool.